Hey everyone, welcome to the Higher Points Podcast. I'm Nick Sowers, sitting here in the studio today without Nate. He's at a Super Bowl party enjoying the Super Bowl, and I could care less about the National Felon League, so I told him I'd come in and take care of it since he was at the party. He took care of last week as well. I was at what we call server training at the Lakeview Christian Camp for the men's encounter that's coming up that Eli's going to be going to, as well as some hopefully other men. And Nate, if you're listening to this, you still haven't signed up. So with that being said, today I have my son Elijah Sowers on. We were talking about having him on to do a podcast about like his journey with the National Powerlifting League and like what he just got done competing there. So. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today. So I guess, we've had you on before, lifting's kind of been something that you kind of gravitated towards. Yeah. I guess let's just kind of start like with people that maybe haven't listened as far as like, I guess kind of what about like lifting appeals to you? Like why do you like doing it? Like what drives you to do that?
Okay. So I've been lifting since like 5th grade. And I don't know, ever since I started lifting, like I was just addicted to like my body growing or just getting stronger. And like, just like the people that you meet in the gym is cool too. And like, just to find the people that like have the same mindset as you is just awesome. And, just lifting is just like, I don't know, I just love it. And it feels great when you get like a new PR or, you can lift heavy, so.
And I know there have been a few times even that you've mentioned, like, I feel like I put all my emotions in that bar.
Yeah.
So you feel like it's a good outlet for, like, dealing with the world sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. So we've been talking about, like, contests and, like, strongman and NPL, and then I guess powerlifting kind of got, like, thrown around. It wasn't really ever.
It wasn't really talked about.
Yeah. So I guess, when I mentioned that one, you seem to be more interested. Why was that? Like, you seem more interested in that than you were in strongman. And
well, strongman, I don't know. I just never really had enough time to, like, work on training for that. And then whereas like powerlifting, like I have a lot more experience in like squat, deadlift, bench, things like that.
Because that's what you're doing at school, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And that just, I don't know, I got interested in that and started working on that. And
so it was just something you felt like, okay, I've done this before, so like I think I'm like more ready for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so the match or the contest that he went to, I think it was called the ICT Showdown, and it was at Crop Barbell in Wichita. And so signed him up, and then we signed him up for like a weight category where he had to cut a little bit of weight, but that didn't necessarily go too well. You like your oatmeal cream pies and stuff like that. So he ended up going up to the next weight category. Which wasn't like a huge jump or anything. You're basically kind of between the two.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, cause I'd never been to a powerlifting. Well, I mean, I guess I'd been to a powerlifting meet, but I hadn't like, I guess coached through it or done like check-in or anything. So for those that don't know, powerlifting is kind of like really crazy rules driven. Mm-hmm. And Eli got to learn a little bit of that on like
it's really technical.
His first lift, I think it was. And, so check-in, like, let's talk a little bit about check-in, just kind of explain to people, like, what check-in's like. And it's the check-in and weigh-in, it's the day before.
Yeah, yeah. So really, you have a certain amount of things, and there's things you have to bring, like, let's say, like a shirt, or your lifting shoes, your belt, and they check your things to make sure you don't have anything to help you lift heavier, or, they just want to see, like, what you have, and things like that. And then they just weigh you and get your weight so they know like group to put you in and things like that. So
yeah. So say like you check stuff in, can you bring different stuff the next day?
No.
And then so like, but it's interesting because they check off like everything.
Yeah.
Like socks, underwear. And that was a subject of contention with Eli too, because he had to wear like briefs.
Yeah.
Like basically tidy whities, and he was not a fan of that. And why is that? Why do they make you do that? What do they say?
So like, let's say boxer briefs, those are a little bit longer, and they think that is like a form of compression, and that'll help you lift heavier, which didn't really make that much sense, but I mean, we just had to listen to it and just get some brief.
Should we tell them the funny story about the underwear when we went to Walmart and stuff?
So we went and
keeping in mind Eli's like sick during this. Like he is like he's all stuffed up and not feeling good and all this stuff, and he's getting ready to go compete.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps add into the story.
Yeah. And so we get to Walmart and we find some boxer briefs, and then we're like looking at the things. It's mostly like little kids of like boxer briefs with dinosaurs on it or like superhero stuff. I'm like, no, I'm not wearing these. And then we found like some adult ones, but my dad, he ended up getting like boxer briefs instead of briefs when they were like right next to each other. And
yeah, because I was trying to choose the ones that were just like gray, like just like because we didn't want to do like tidy whities. So
yeah.
And I didn't look at the package because I'm an idiot.
And then we get like the briefs, and then we go on about a day. We leave, about to go to the weigh-in. Nah,
man, you got to tell the story about being sick and the nasal rinse and stuff.
Oh yeah. So like once we get to the weigh-in, we do everything, and then we get like this saline mist or
because your sinuses are all clogged.
Yeah, they were really clogged, and then I use that, and I got a lot of stuff out, and then.
It's like hanging from your nose.
It was so embarrassing. And then I'm like, we didn't have any like napkins or anything to wipe it up. And then I'm like, can I just use a boxer brief since I'm never gonna wear them like ever? And so I took boxer briefs and just like wiped my nose with them. It was funny.
Keeping in mind these are brand new. They're not worn. Yeah. They're not used or anything like that. But it was just a funny moment because he's like looking where we normally like keep napkins like in the glove box, and there weren't any. And so he's like, what do I do? And I'm like, I don't know. Use that. Like, it's the only thing. It's not like you're ever going to wear them. And didn't you end up wearing them like one time afterwards as to school or something? Like you were in a hurry? I thought I saw you wear some one time. But so we had to make like a trip back. And then you had like a cool experience with a dude walking out of Walmart too.
Oh, yeah. So ever since I was kind of like really getting into lifting and just getting bigger, everywhere I go, like people ask, do you play football? Do you do wrestling? And it was funny. We were walking out of Walmart, and like there was like this gentleman. He walked out, and he seen my dad and I walking out. He's like, "You must play football," like from across the parking lot. And he's like, "You look like an NFL player," or something like that. And I'm like, "Nah, I'm getting back into it," things like that. And he's like, "Yeah, you look big and like real strong." And then
everywhere we go, man, like everywhere, they're like, "Oh, you must play football or something like that."
Yeah.
And you're like, no, not really my thing.
And like, you should get into that or wrestling.
So we show up to Top Crop, start doing check-in. It's pretty busy.
Yeah.
We already kind of explained that. Check all the stuff in, weigh in. I didn't know like I knew that they moved the bar. Like, you know how remember they did the bar height stuff?
Yeah.
Like I remember at Felicia's powerlifting meet, like they would move it up and down and stuff, but I didn't like know how they did that. So you want to talk a little bit about like how they get your bar heights?
So I think they just had me like stand under the rack, and then they had me lift it all the way up and just like had me like see what was comfortable and what was not, and just go based off that. Same thing with bench, but deadlift it's there's nothing really like measure. So
right. It's coming from the floor.
Yeah.
Well, and like, so on those, I don't know if the people listening have ever been to one or competed, but like, there's like these little like notches. So like you lift the bar up and then you can like pull this pin out and then you can go like up and down. And then, there's like a 1 through, gosh, I don't even know like what the highest number was. Cause like nobody really went higher than like 4.
Really?
I mean, like on bench, on squat. I think wasn't your squat like a 9 or 7 or something? It was like
7 or 8, something like that. Yeah,
I can't remember honestly, but they move it up and down based on each lifter because everybody's like different heights and different like preferences and how they want to lift and stuff like that. And so it's really technical. And then I was helping being a quote unquote loader. Except when Eli's flight was up, then I was coaching Eli, which I didn't really do much coaching, to be fair. I mean, it was just kind of like helping out, like making sure that he like stuff wasn't like his gear wasn't messed up, making sure to remind him like, hey, lock your belt over, things like that of just because I know he had a lot on his mind.
Yeah, I was really nervous. There's like 200 people there, and I'm not the best in big crowds, so.
So we go. The thing that I guess that about powerlifting that like maddens me is like how rules driven it is. Like I'm used to strongman where it's like show up, stand on the scale. Okay, yep, you're fat. Get off the scale. And then like, okay, now go lift this heavy thing. We don't care how you lift it. We don't care where you like. It's like, I mean, there are a few things like they tell you like not to slam the weights down. Same thing in powerlifting. They just want their equipment to be taken care of. It's expensive, and stuff like that. But like there are people that were coming up to the judges or the rules people, and they were like, "So are we entering the platform from the left and exiting from the right?" And blah. And I'm just like, what? Like, holy cow! Like the people, like I don't know. Sometimes that appeals to people. They just like being like this order and this flow, and they just love. I mean, like being told what to do, and that does not appeal to me at all.
I see where they're coming from, like asking that, because track is like really the same way, where they have the flights or like who's on deck, who's in the hole, like whereas like shot put when I throw, you're supposed to come in from like the back, and exit through the back, or you can't leave from the front, things like that. So I mean, that's probably why they asked that.
I got you.
It's really similar, except for like obviously lifting weights or throwing.
Yeah,
so
right. So. We get the rules meetings over with and everything, and then basically everybody kind of starts in lifting. And it's interesting because so there's different flights, and you were in the second flight. And basically the way they do the weights is they start kind of with like whoever has the lowest weight of that flight, and then they just work up. So it might be you might have like a smaller girl, and then like maybe a smaller guy, and that they might be taller or shorter or whatever. It's just basically based on weight. And it's interesting because up on the TV, it shows like the heights for the bars. So like the loaders will not only load the bar with weight, but then they adjust the height of everything to make sure it's just ready for the lifter. So all the lifter has to do is just step up and do the lift, and that's it. And then like the loaders will like catch it if they bail from a lift or if they can't get it or something like that. So first one was what? Squat?
Yeah,
right?
squat.
So that one was a little technical, but not bad.
I think the first one, I think it was pretty technical because my singlet was touching my my knee sleeves.
Yeah, right.
And like I got one red light. Yeah,
you can't do that. Well, and the red light was more of a verbal warning. Like you still got the lift because I remember the guy saying you got a verbal warning, but then I remember. Looking at like your sheet or whatever, and they showed 3 white lights.
Yeah.
So it was just a verbal warning. It was your first lift of your first contest, and NPL is really cool about being athlete driven. That's the nice thing about NPL is, so like for instance, Scott Tully was explaining to me like as I'm coaching Eli, if I want, I could stand off to the side of him while he's squatting. And say like, hey, keep going down. You don't have depth yet. Keep going. And then like tell them, okay, now you can go up. Whereas like other federations, they don't. NPLs, especially for junior lifters, what was it? $25 for the membership, right?
Yeah.
And then the contest, I think I paid.
It was like 60.
Yeah, like 60 or 65.
Yeah.
Whereas other contests are like 200 to get in on like one. Plus another like 100 for the membership for the year. So it's really more athlete focused. And I would say that while I was there, like, although it is a very technical kind of rule driven sport, even like the judges were really cool. They were cool to be around, cool to hang around, like all of them, even the national level judges and stuff like that, because there were some national records that were set while they were there. So you would sometimes see them switch judges, and that's because, like, if you look at the sleeve of their shirt, it'll say, like, state or national, and if you're going for a national record, you have to have at least 2 national judges judging. So there's 3, I guess we should set that up, there's 3 different judges. So you've got, the one out front, which is, like, the main judge is, like, controlling everything as far as, like, giving the commands and stuff like that, and then you got 2 off to the side that's basically at that's at a perpendicular to the lifter, so they can see that side angle on each side. Do we miss anything else there? I mean, as far as like that technicality?
No.
So if we do the build up a little bit, so before we talk about your first lift, so we start, like I tell Eli, like, hey, come on, it's time to like start warming up. And we're pretty much the only ones over there because everybody else is kind of like warmed up, and I was wanting him to like kind of wait, because I know how he is and I know how driven he is when it comes to lifting, and I know that he was going to want to like just get under the bar and like push a bunch and do a bunch and like, let me put more on, and I was like, okay, hang on a second. Like, we're going to wait. And cause I wanted him to be like limber and like warmed up and ready to go, but I didn't want him to like overexert himself prior to the lift. And I thought it was funny because, so we go over and we start warming up and everything in powerlifting is in kilos.
Yeah.
And everything that we have ever trained is always in pounds.
Yeah.
So we pretty much have like no idea where we're at in kilos until we get there and like look at the conversion chart.
Yeah.
And I remember we're loading the bar and like I had him start with no weight on the bar, which he didn't like because it was like you were struggling in those shoes.
Yeah. Or like my sleeves, they want to let me go all the way down. So.
And then we put a little bit of weight on. And then how'd that first one feel? Do you remember?
It was pretty good.
And then we put on like, I think 225.
Yeah.
And then do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't think I can get like my starting weight because I was so nervous.
Because his starting weight was
275 point something, and then we ended up changing it.
Yeah, well, so your opening weight was 137 and a half.
And that's
which roughly, yeah, which in is roughly 302.
302.
Squat.
We ended up changing that because it was 275 at the start. That's what I said at the weigh-in, and then you ended up changing it to like.
I don't think you could. I don't think I could change it. It doesn't show anything has changed. See, on the card.
Huh.
Well, let's look at your bench because your bench was different. So let me look at your bench. So 102.5 was 225 on bench. So anyway, so he's squatting 225 and his opening weight's 302 and I think that he thought it was 275 and didn't realize that it was 302 and I didn't say anything because I wasn't going to be like mess with your head anymore because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, number one, you got this. And like number two, I'm not going to tell you that to where you like psych yourself out and then you don't do it. So then you step up for your first lift. So I guess like so this is your first contest of your first meet. You've never competed and you also not a big fan of like crowds of people.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, like on the platform, you're kind of have your own space.
Yeah.
Granted, you're still in front of all these people. And you step up to the platform, like what's going through your head? Like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you feeling?
It is like, I don't know. I'm not thinking anymore. Like the whole room, I don't know. I would say everybody was talking, but like to me, the room was silent. Like I was in my zone and like lifting is just my thing. So like I just blocked everything out. Like I don't know.
Do you remember the judges? Like, cause you have to get the commands and stuff.
Yeah. I was listening to them and then just like nothing else.
That's the same way for me. Like I usually am like, this ball of like anxiety, this ball of like, anxiety is the best way I can explain it. And then I step up to do the lift and like the world disappears around me. It's like a black hole in that moment. But once it's done, it's like, whoop, like, okay, there's the world. It's back again. So I know that same feeling. So to let everybody know, the main judge will say bar is loaded. If I think right, again, it's not bar is ready. It's bar is loaded, right?
Yeah.
So I think they say bar is loaded, which means, hey, your time started. You have 1 minute to complete this lift. And that means Eli could wait 57 seconds and step up, grab the bar, do it real quick, and then like he's good, just as long as he finishes it in a minute. And so bar is ready, and then they'll say like, and then he will lift it, kind of step back, get set, and then like he gives like the judge a nod or like tells him, hey, I'm ready or whatever, and they'll say what, squat? I think.
Squat. Yep.
Some federations will say like down or whatever, down, up, etc. So then it's all on him. So he squats, goes down, and then whenever he thinks he's at depth, or his coach tells him he's at depth, which I didn't really bug him on the depth part because I wasn't worried about that. He did a really good job of that in training. Those deadlift shoes or those platform shoes or whatever you call them, those made a big difference, or squat shoes, and how deep you could get. Thanks to Scott Tully, first of all. I guess probably we should give him a shout out.
Yeah.
Because Scott Tully, he took time out of like a really busy day to meet with us and train us. And he, like, it was, you could tell he was busy because he was just like running around. He was like, I only have this time during this time slot, and like come in, and like we warmed up and everything, and like we were ready to go because I knew with Scott, like Scott's a no nonsense guy.
Yeah.
So if we were just like sitting there waiting on him, he'd be like, seriously, like, what have you been doing all this time? So I'm telling Eli, like, come on, let's go, let's warm up, stuff like that. And so he went through everything, critiqued Eli on his form, like told him how he could work on, knees over toes to work on his depth, stuff like that. And then he gave you some things. You want to talk about a little bit about that? The things that he provided to you.
So he gave me a belt, some sleeves, because like I didn't have both those things. I usually just use like the belts that were like provided to everybody at the gym, and it was like one of those the lever action belts. So it was pretty good.
It's a very nice belt.
Yeah.
Probably like a well over $100 belt.
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh, I got a bunch of extras. Here you go. And that's another thing about Scott is like he likes seeing, he understands that like athletes like Eli, like they're the next generation. So
yeah.
I'm going to set them up for success. And one thing that I thought was cool that like blew my mind was like Scott was like, holy cow, this kid is strong. And that is like something coming from Scott because again, Scott is a very no nonsense man. Like he's not going to tell you that just to like lift up your spirits because he's a touchy-feely guy. Like, he says what he means and means what he says. Speaking of that, did I ever tell you at Kansas Strongest there was one time that, like, he was, like, getting ready to fight a guy that was, like, being mean? Yeah, so he was running Kansas Strongest when I was there in, like, 2022, I think it was. And this guy came up and wanted to start crap with him, and Scott was, like, ready to throw down with this guy in the middle of the mall. And like, I was like, I'm going to watch this. And this dude was like, I would say maybe Nate size. And you know how big Scott is.
Yeah.
Scott makes me and you look like Tiny Tim. And I'm like, hey, Scott, he's not worth it. He's like, no, F that, man. F this guy. I'm just like, Scott, come on, buddy. So, like, Scott is definitely an intense man.
Yeah.
But he has a caring heart, especially when it comes to kids. He was training, I shouldn't say kid, but young man and women. He was training a young lady that she did very well there. And I think she was 15 or 16 as well.
16, yeah.
And she did very well. Okay, so we segue back to hitting depth and all that stuff, and so the world disappears around you, and how'd that first lift go?
It was pretty good, except for like the verbal warning. That's it. But my depth was good. And then like after that, I felt a little bit more confident. Like, yeah, I can definitely do the next lift because it felt pretty easy.
It was very easy.
Yeah, it went up pretty quick. So
if you get the chance to watch a video, which I think I might try. On like Facebook?
It's on my socials, so
yeah.
My Instagram.
Yeah, well, what is that real quick while they're here?
It's Fuzz, aka Eli.
It's Fuzz underscore,
yeah,
aka underscore Eli.
Yeah.
So you can see them on there if you want to see. Is your profile public?
Yeah, it's
okay.
public.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll maybe put a video or two on the socials when I post this this podcast as well.
Okay.
So I would say to me, I looked at that and I was like, man, we should have gone so much heavier. Like so much heavier. I'm like, dude, put some weight on that bar.
Like, the thing with me, if I doubt myself, like, I don't know if I can like do it, but I just like, I'm not going to doubt myself. I'm just going to do it and see how it feels. And like, yeah, we should have put more weight on it. Like, it was way too easy.
Well, and then we didn't go up by much after that. I was just kind of letting you pick your weights because I didn't want to injure you. And then we'll have to talk about your final deadlift weight because with Scott and everything. So don't let me forget to talk about that.
Which I wasn't too mad that we didn't go too heavy on squat because like that saved a lot of energy for my other two lifts that I love a lot more than squat because squat kind of sucks. But
yeah, I'm not a big fan of squat.
And then like bench comes around and
hold on, we got two other lifts and squat to talk about.
What do you mean?
There's 3 lifts.
Well, yeah.
So he went up to 140 on the next one, which that is roughly 308 pounds. And how'd that one feel?
Oh, wait. So we jumped from only 300 to only 308?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
302 to 308. So only 6 pounds.
It was not that. And then I got that one up pretty quick. So
and then we jumped a little bit more on the next one.
We went to like 335.
We went to 147 and a half. which is roughly 324 pounds.
324. Oh, okay. And then that one is like really easy too. So
yeah. And then you easily got 3 white lights on all of those.
Yeah.
There were, we were making sure that I was looking and you were making sure that like your singlet wasn't touching your, and so keep in mind, like all 3 of those were state records. So the first lift was a state record. The second one was a state record. The third one was even a bigger state record.
Yeah.
And each time they set like records like that, typically like judges will like kind of check you over, make sure you're not wearing or have anything that you're not supposed to. So squat weight quick. That was another thing that was interesting. Like those things go pretty fast.
Yeah.
Considering that how many lifters there are, and there's not really a whole lot of reset time. It just kind of flows really well. So we go into bench. Same 3 judges. A little bit more technical. So if I remember, they would say like bar is ready. You would lay down on the bench, get all set up. Your time starts. And then a coach or anyone can lift off, or you can do like the lift off yourself. Like you don't have to have a lift off, but again, you're expending energy that you probably shouldn't. I mean, you're basically doing kind of like a quarter to an eighth of a rep, just getting it off the hooks or whatever you call them. And then they say
down, and then they say once it kind of like rests above or like on your chest, they'll say press, and then once you're stable, steady, like at the top, they'll say rack.
Right.
And then the spotter will like guide you towards the rack. So
yeah, and so like I'm actually kind of happy Eli was in the second flight because it gave me an opportunity to kind of like see how it worked. And then I was seeing some of the mistakes some of the other athletes were making. So remember how Eli said there was like the rack command? You'd get these people that would like get the lift and they were like super excited that they got the lift. Well, they're used to their gym routine where they're like, yes, and they rack the weight out and they get up and they kind of like celebrate. Well, there were people that weren't waiting for the rack command. And because they didn't get the rack command and they racked, they got 3 red lights. And that lift didn't count. So I'm telling Eli, like, hey, like make sure you're focused at like the top of that lift once you get it locked out. Like wait for that rack command and then rack.
And I ended up getting all 3 white lights on all 3 lifts, I think. Yeah,
right. You got white lights pretty much all day, except for that first one where there was the verbal warning.
Yeah.
So your first bench press was 102.5, which is roughly 225.5.
Yeah.
How'd that feel?
It was really easy. 225 is not that much.
So what did you feel when you like first stepped up on the platform for that like first bench press?
Same thing with squat. Like it just went silent. And then
do you remember me like above the bar or like telling you things or anything like that? Or
I remember you above the bar. I just didn't hear anything, and I'm like, I'm gonna get this. I wasn't really saying anything to myself. I just like waited for her to say like bar's ready. Went up to the bench and and then when she said or like I think I said I'm ready or nodded or something like that, you lifted off the bench or off the rack, and then when she said down, I went down, and then when she said press, I lifted it, and then like I wasn't really thinking, I just did what I was told. So
all right, and see, next one was 115 kilos, which is roughly 253 pounds. So that was a pretty good jump there. Yeah. And that seemed like it was pretty easy.
Yeah, it was
how'd it feel?
It was like a 5 out of 10, so it wasn't too bad. But
okay. I would say it didn't seem like you struggled with getting it that weight up at all.
Yeah. And
then your third lift was 122.5 kilos, which is roughly 269.5 pounds. So 269.5. That one seemed like it was a little bit more tough, if I remember correctly, but not like you were struggling.
Yeah, because it was 10 pounds under my max or 5 pounds under my max, something like that. So it wasn't too bad, but I still got it up pretty quick. So
keeping in mind again, all 3 of those lifts were state records as well. In those 3 lifts. So on all 3 of those were white lights, no problems. And so then we come up on deadlift, which is Eli's favorite lift. Yeah. If Eli could do nothing else ever in working out and like never do anything else, like it would be probably deadlift. So opening weight on deadlift, he was a little bit more ambitious because he's done it more, and I think that he is I guess like more confident with it.
I mean, the only thing that was making me nervous was you're not allowed to have straps, so And really the only times I train deadlift is with straps. So I was kind of like psyching myself out for that. But
So with that being said, his opening weight on that was 451 pounds. So coming up on the platform, that one's pretty easy. Same 3 judges, no rack, nothing to set up other than just loading the bar with a weight for the loaders.
And the only command is down, or command is
bar is ready.
Yeah,
bar is ready, and then it's on you. And then once they see that you're locked out and you have the bar under control, then they say down.
Yeah, and
then you have to like control the weight on the way down. Like you can't just let it go, or anything like that. So same thing with that one, like coming up on the platform, did you feel a little more ready for that one? Like, okay, I've done this before, I'm good.
Once I was next to the bar, I'm like, oh, this feels really familiar. So I just did what I'm used to in the gym, got my form ready, lifted it, and it was really easy for 450. So got that one up, heard down, let it down, and it was done. So
then on the next one, I told like I went up to the thing and I basically put a weight down and I didn't tell Eli what it was. He's like, what is it? And I'm like, don't worry about it. He's like, well, you're not going to tell me? I'm like, nope. I'm like, don't worry about it. You got this. So we stepped up and I put 227.5, which was a jump to 500.5 pounds, just roughly. Yeah. Keep in mind, I'm just doing the rough math here. So I could be off by a little bit on these weights, not by a significant amount, but yeah. So you go up there on the second one, get 3 white lights again. How'd 500 feel? Did that feel heavy at all, or
no? It felt it was heavy, but it felt a little bit heavier than 450. So it wasn't that big of a jump. But
was it afterwards that I told you how much it was?
Yeah, and I'm like, that was really 500.
Yeah, because we were trying to see. That was what I was doing, was trying to keep you out of your head. Yeah. Like if you didn't know what it was, you were just going to step up and lift it because I knew you were more than capable.
Yeah.
So here's where the funny story comes in. Eli and I are at the table, and like he has no more lifts. Like, he has one more lift, but he has like nothing else for the rest of the day, right? So we've already done our 3 squats, we've already done our 3 benches, and now we've done 2 deadlifts. Mm-hmm. So I think you have like 2 minutes, I think, to come up to the table and tell them like what your next lift is or your next weight is going to be. And if you come up, like, don't tell them anything, they just write down the same weight and you have to just do the same weight again.
I think they only go up by like 2 kilos.
Oh yeah, that's right. They would go up by like 2 kilos. Yeah. You're right. Sorry about that. Thanks for correcting me on that.
No, sorry.
So we go up there and I'm just like, you were like, that was easy basically. And I'm like, hey man, you kind of want to like shoot for the stars. And you were like, all right, cool. And so like, I threw down some like insane weight that I was like, well, what do you think about this? Well, keeping in mind, like Scott is like skulking around the table and he kind of sees and hears this conversation. And I can't remember what I threw out there. I think I was throwing something like 570 or 580, somewhere around in there.
No, it was more than my max. So it was like 600 or something like that.
It was an insane weight. And so like Scott comes over, and keeping in mind, Scott has like 20 plus years of like lifting experience. And he's also like got bad ankles, like messed up knees, messed up shoulder. Like he's been in the sport so long. I remember him training us one time at a first strongman. He said, it's not a question of if you're going to get injured. It's a question of when you're going to get injured in this sport. Like it's just going to happen. Like there's no way around it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to compete at a high level. And so he has been through that, and he's had to rehab that. So he knows, like, he didn't want you to have to go through that. And so he steps up and he goes, I would strongly advise.
Keep in mind, he like appeared out of nowhere.
Too. Yes, he did.
We didn't know he was right there. It was
like a ninja. And he was like, I would strongly advise against that. He says, that sounds like a good weight to get hurt at. You know, again, being the very matter-of-fact man he is.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, yes, sir. And so we ended up settling on
551.
551.2. You're right. Which was 250 kilos. Mm-hmm. And you know, keeping in mind this is without straps, and like that's even to a point where like I can't do that. The only time I've ever lifted 550 was with straps, and I was on an axle bar, and it was an 18-inch deadlift and not from the floor. Mm-hmm. And so like you definitely have me beat on strength when it comes to deadlift 100%, because I don't even think I could get 500 from the floor right now just because I haven't been training it.
Yeah.
And so 551 seemed like it was a little bit of a grind.
Yeah. Which thank goodness I had a lot of adrenaline because like I was really nervous. I'm like, hopefully I get this up, and I didn't want to like fail in front of a ton of people. So like my heart was beating really quick, and like I'm glad because like my blood was pumping really quick. And once I get up there, I'm like, I can do this. And again, the room went silent, and get in my form. And once I get it up, well, it got to my knees. I'm like, oh no, like I was freaking out. And then I like, it was like that scared adrenaline, like. And I went up even quicker, and I ended up locking out and getting like all 3 white lights or something like that. So,
and then once he put it down, like everybody will see it in the video. What'd you do?
Yeah, well, I don't know why I did that.
He's so embarrassed about it, but I'm like, dude, it's natural, man. Everybody does it.
I like screamed or something like that. And
then, you basically like flexed, like, oh.
Yeah. And then I started crying afterwards. Like I was just so happy. I didn't think I could do it, and like I did it without stress. I thought I couldn't, and just like that, this wave of happiness of just like, I don't know. I just cried from all that. I've never done that before. So
well, and I think it's interesting too. You're actually competing against all these people, like
yeah,
and everybody there is like still cheering for you and helping you out. Or I remember when we were warming up, there were even people that were coming up and like, hey, if you want to warm up, try this, try that, do this, do that, and trying to help out. Like some of the stuff like that they were telling you, I was like, nah, don't do that. When it came to the warm up, everybody has their different styles, different coaching styles, but I definitely didn't want you being like insanely loose in the hips, like trying to stretch them, like, and then making them tired and then potentially injuring. So, but, it was just interesting of all the people that were there to just like help out, even though you're competing against them. It was just a cool environment. Strongman's the same way. I would say strongman's more intense because it's like most of the weights in strongman every time is a grind. Like they're more established. You don't get to like pick the weights. Like sometimes you do. Like if you're doing a deadlift for max, you can go up and like pick your weight. But most of the time it's like you have this 225-pound sandbag that you got to do this with it. Like you don't get to choose. It's like this is the set weight. Either lift it or don't. So there's a lot more people kind of grinding through some of those lifts. So it's like it's more intense. There's a lot more screaming and that kind of stuff. But I remember you were like, is that it? Like, can I go change? And I think like you were just trying to get like your space.
Yeah, I was trying
because you were pretty emotional.
I tried to stop. I tried like to stop crying and stuff. And I'm like, is that it? I went to the bathroom and just started bawling. Like I was just, it was awesome.
Feel good to release that?
Yeah, it was awesome.
And was it pretty special for you too? Like Thomas was there and like seeing you lift and stuff too?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. Thomas, also for those who don't know, Thomas is his bio dad. And so he lived like literally it was kind of a God thing. He lived like 2/10 of a mile up the street. So it was easy for him to come out, and he's got some boys that are in like wrestling and they had wrestling that morning and stuff too. Yeah. So he was kind of bouncing back between those two places and he was sick as well. Eli's sick. He's sick.
He was worse than me.
Yeah, he looked so miserable, but he was there and that was pretty cool. Yeah. So shout out to Thomas for being there. I know that meant a lot to you. And so I guess just kind of like wrap up, like what are your thoughts on powerlifting? Like what like, didn't you expect? Like what maybe surprised you or like what didn't you like, things like that?
Well, there's nothing I didn't like really expect, like there's nothing I really like didn't not expect, I guess. Like everything there I kind of expected, but I thought like it would, I don't know, like I felt welcome there. Like I thought I wouldn't. I thought I'd be just like kind of alone, but like it was like a big lifting family, I guess, and it was just awesome to be around like different types of people, and I don't know, it was just, I just loved it, and I definitely want to like keep doing that in the future, and so you qualified for nationals, and the cool thing about that is like when you qualify for nationals like that, I think didn't they say they paid for your entry or something like that if you won first or something like that? I can't remember. I think I have no idea.
Yeah. And so I think that's in like Oklahoma or something like that.
Yeah, Tulsa.
I don't know if we're going to do that or not.
Yeah, because my ankle's messed up,
well, your ankle will get better. Like Grandma Cindy did say one time when so to let everybody know what we're talking about, Eli was playing basketball at school, rolled his ankle real bad.
Yeah.
And it was like a really terrible sprain. It's like all kinds of black and blue and everything like that. And so Grandma Cindy was saying she rolled her ankle one time and she didn't do like the exercises with her ankle. And she said even to this day, she said she still has ankle problems because she never did the proper exercises to like rehab that back. So we're gonna have to work on that whenever the time comes, and it's gonna be painful like the knee again. But
I've already been trying to like fight through the pain just to walk on it, and it's been helping a little bit. So
so that was just her advice. It wasn't even coming from me this time.
Yeah.
You trust Grandma Cindy more than you trust me, so you should you should take that into heart. So then got your first place medal. So technically you did 9 lifts on the day, 3, 3, and 3. So all 9 were state records. So you're still a state record holder on that, as far as I know. I don't think they've done any more contests. I think the next contest is Scott's contest in December at his place. It's I forget what it is.
I think I seen something on our fridge. It was like the championship or something like that on May 11th.
Yeah,
I think that's the closest one.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
And that's going to be held at Scott Tully's gym, which is actually in the Salina Mall. It's called Driven Barbell. And if you want to look stuff up on NPL, I think it's NP League or NPL League, but I think it's NP League, like .com.net, something like that. If you just Google like National Powerlifting League, I would definitely recommend it. Powerlifting is really not my thing. I probably won't compete in powerlifting. It's just not my jam. I am. It's interesting to me because I'm a cop.
Yeah.
So all of my world is driven by rules. But I also, as a cop, sometimes struggle with like sometimes the rules to me are kind of dumb.
Yeah.
And so like the nice thing about officer discretion is like there are times that I can be like, hey, I'm not going to enforce that. Like I'll talk to you and be like, hey, you probably shouldn't do that, whatever. So yeah, I'm not really big on rules. I guess that's probably why I was in the principal's office a lot when I was in high school. But I would recommend it definitely as like something if you're looking at something to get into and lift. It's like a really welcoming environment. Strongman is too. Yeah. Strongman is as well. And then there's like tons of people out there that are willing to help you. Like even if like you've never done it, I remember showing up and Jesse Jester at my first contest. I was struggling lifting this sandbag, and he was like, "Hey, no, you're going about it all wrong. Do this." And I was able to get the lift that I wasn't able to get before because my form was wrong, and like I was competing against him. And he helped me. Granted, he always will be and has been stronger than me.
Yeah.
he was not worried about me beating him. But to be fair, he could have just like looked at me and like just let me struggle through it and be like, yeah, like screw that guy or whatever. So strongman and NPL and everything, it's really inviting. And I think a lot of people look at it and they get nervous and like, oh, I don't want to do that. And like, what's it going to be like? And,
I mean, you'll be nervous, but
yeah, it's just a real chill environment.
Yeah.
Lots of really chill, cool people as well.
And also I had like a really good loving group too. So, and that really helped as well. Shout out to everybody with Backwoods Barbell. Everybody that was there that day was Heather, Felicia, Nate, Wyatt, me, Eli. Did I miss anybody? Because Fatima wasn't there. No.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
So they were there and, cheering Eli on and giving him high fives, patting him on the back, especially like Wyatt. Wyatt was like your hype man.
Yeah.
Wyatt was like, woo! Like, like giving you like a slap on the back or like a big high five and stuff. And he's like, let's go, I
probably heard of him more than like anybody else in that like gym.
Well, that's another thing. Like I'll definitely post your deadlift video for sure.
Yeah.
Cause like,
again, it's on my Instagram, so
you can definitely like hear like the proud dad moment in the background when I'm like screaming like yes, like when you finally got that lift. Because like when you stalled kind of at your knees, I was like,
yeah,
and then you just like ground it out. And that's another thing about the rules is like you can stall, but if the bar makes any downward motion,
or any sign of movement, like downwards,
you're like they're gonna red light you,
yeah.
So you can stall as long as the bar doesn't make any downward movement. Then you keep going and with that upward motion. Same thing with squat. Same thing with bench. And then you'll get the lift. And so yeah, I was definitely proud of you. You definitely went outside of your comfort zone there. And I know sometimes that's something you struggle with, especially like in crowds. And I got to give a shout out to Eli as well. He's been like we've been having some struggles. Yeah. Which is going to happen. I sent him a funny thing that shows the Ben Affleck smoking a cigarette with the like look on his face. And it's like me dealing with my kid's crap. And then there's like a smaller Ben Affleck that looks like a midget standing next to him, obviously photoshopped, and it's really bad. And it says, my kid dealing with my crap, with that same like face with a cigarette. And I sent that to Eli, and I was like, hey, look, that's you and me. And so like, but you know, he's been doing like a significantly better job of like communicating things. Like, you know, he was talking about maybe like wanting to switch jobs and like communicated that. And, you know, like wanting to focus. He's like, I'm trying to be a better me. So he's like, I'd like to like focus on like trying to get my schoolwork done. He's like, track's getting ready to start. And like, I don't want 2 jobs to have to worry about that on top of homework, on top of track. And, you know, it's like, you know, and then your mom initially was like, well, you know, and I was like, I don't know. He's kind of make a point. I'm on Eli's side on this, you know? And so, you know, we just keep growing, and it's like, you know, in the gym, that incremental work, we just keep growing. It's the same thing in our relationship of, you know, we communicated not long ago where you were like, this conversation is not going to solve anything. And I was just like, hey, you know, if we even just get this little bit of growth, and like I learned something new, and then we made a life change there as well. Yeah. You know, going to the doctor and stuff. And so, you know, we just keep making that incremental growth, keep pushing ourselves outside our comfort zone. And then that's how we end up ultimately succeeding when the time comes. So, I can't think of anything else. Anything that got left out about that day? Oh, we went to like a really awesome restaurant afterwards. That place was really good. Yeah, I don't even remember the name of it now. It was something like avocado or guacamole, or I don't remember.
It was like Los Adios. I don't know. It's something that started with the name, but it was a Mexican restaurant. So
I'm pretty sure it was avocado.
It was across from Popeyes on like some busy street
on Rock. Yeah, we were on Rock. Yeah. Like North Rock, way up on the north side of Rock. Yeah, up there by that Walmart and stuff. Yeah. I don't even remember the name of it now. Casa Avocado? Maybe? I don't know. I feel like
House Avocado.
I feel like avocado's wrong.
No, it wasn't avocado, but anyways.
I'm trying to remember the name of it because it was so good, and I want to give them props, like, you know, for anybody who's listening to like go there and try it because it was really good. Rachel's gonna laugh at me when she hears this, but really phenomenal food there. And then we basically bounced out after that because you were pretty well like, all right, I'm done. Like, let's go. Like, I'm done with people. Let's go. So, but yeah, man, I'm like proud of you. You did good work. Lots of heavy lifts, good pulls. You find it?
Yep. It was called El Agave.
Oh, El Agave.
Yeah, I knew it started with an A.
Yeah, avocado, agave. Yeah, same thing. Close. Same thing. Yeah. But and then you were like, how long were you sore afterwards?
On my back. Oh my goodness, it was so bad. I think I messed up my like form or whatever. Because like when it stopped at my knees, I felt something on my back. I ended up using my back muscles, which you're not really supposed to. And I pulled something, but I was sore for maybe 2 weeks after.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were like,
I was rolling out every day in weight class, and it was so bad. But I mean, depending on what chair I sit in at school is when it kind of like gets a little sore. But it's been getting better, so
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else you want to add in?
No.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for taking the opportunity to sit here and listen to us at the Higher Points podcast. We appreciate you taking the time every week to come and join us. You can check us out at www.thehigherpoints.com, on Instagram at The Higher Points, and on Facebook at The Higher Points Podcast. Don't forget we're still renting out the studio if you wanted to like do your own podcast or record some music or whatever. You know, or even if you just have some questions about like what equipment we have or how you start your own podcast or how you structure it or how you record it or whatever, you can just go to our website, click on the contact page, and then Nate and I's emails are there. You can reach out to us. Don't forget Eli's Instagram is fuzz_aka_Eli. You can see just stuff about his journey, his life journey. He's definitely got some posts on there that are, I guess, a little bit more adult, which are kind of cool, you know, just of his like view of life and stuff like that, and just kind of see his journey. And also, if you're interested in seeing all the videos of the lifts and stuff like that, they're on there for the public consumption. So with that being said, we'll catch up with you guys next time. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you later.